Well, the first one reason is like at the back of the book, I do have a portrait, and I did sign this, for Byron here. But you'll see as a selfie that we took, and a selfie that we went to outdoor safari. It was a drive-through safari here in Weimar, Texas. And my son ended up passing away actually the following year. This is 2021. We went on a trip, and 2022 was when he had passed away. And I did a story that's basically inspired by that selfie. So in that selfie, it's me, my son, and a goat. Where it's inspired, by my personal story, because I lost my son to suicide. But in the story, it's a more lighthearted approach that's more approachable, so to speak. And it just have good intentions with, exploring the topic of, losing a loved one, such as your child, in the story, but somehow he comes back and lingers on to look after his father. But then his father he has an accident where he can, see his son. And now they have a journey together where they have to figure out what to do next, but they're going to figure it out together. So in some ways, if I could like maybe rewrite what happened with my son, then this is kind of how it would look on a more approachable, lighthearted, and it's a comic book, but it's more for like the casual reader that not may not normally be into comic books, but they could read it and follow along and they understand and grasp it almost any age. I would say a borderline children's book because it does talk about death, but it's still in a way where you can understand it. It's still along the lines of like what some children will watch with some of the Disney films. Sometimes that's how, from what I see, that's how a lot of children, if they're not around, going to funerals and things like that, they actually learn about death watching some of the cartoons and movies growing up because they do talk and express that. And I'm sure the creators of those stories probably had something personal to them and they expressed. So that's kind of what I'm doing with this. It's like, my son passed and he passed tragically, and it was intentional. It was by suicide. I could rewrite kind of what happened. And if I could see him and be around him every day, this is kind of how it would look. That's the whole thing of it. That's kind of the reason I did it, but also to reach and, make a good story and people could relate. They understand. They could share. They can talk about. Yeah. I mean, I've seen people read it in groups, and they get to discuss my book. So I think that's pretty neat.
That's gotta be a good feeling because without something lighthearted to approach it with, death can be it's hard to discuss,
Mm-hmm.
and especially with the way that you lost your son, it's a difficult topic.
Oh
And
yes.
it's admirable that you would take what happened and choose to create something that helps other people process and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
When you say like if you could go back, you would rewrite it like this. Are you referring to like just having more time with your son, or what do you mean by that?
Well, as far as going back, I mean, like I said, with this story, if I could rewrite it, and like I said, when my son passed, it was like my question was, where did he go? And it was like a lot of questions. I mean, I wish I could have talked to him more, get more reasoning behind, what happened. It's like he just disappeared. You know, this story is more of like it's not supposed to be this way, but it's an accident where they do have contact with each other throughout the story. And I mean, in some ways, I mean, I feel like he's still around, but I can't directly interact with him. But I do feel like he's still around me doing things. But that's just the hard part. It's just, you're moving on without that person like physically around. but at the same time, learning some things from it, learning to move past, learning to grow from it. And if I could just reach out to people at this point, um, like I said, that's my positive intention, and is to stay positive, to not take it out on other people, be mad and resentful and all of that.
And all of those would be understandable emotions. So why is it so important to you to take that choice and be like, I'm gonna move forward? Because I remember we were talking before, and you said that that was like a big thing to you, was being able to move forward.
I mean, because eventually you have to. Because if you don't, you know, then you'd be pretty. It's like you'd be miserable and bitter, and you don't have to be.
It's hard
Misery
to.
loves company. I mean, yeah, if you feel bad, you want to get around other people that feel just as bad as you, but y'all can vent together. Or you can be around people they're not miserable and they try to maybe lift you up, and that's helpful. That's more helpful than being around other people that's you're negative, they're negative, and you just be negative together.
But that's not to say that you don't mourn, but you just, it seemed like you made a, even in your pain, you made a conscious choice to one day not be in that spot emotionally.
Yeah, I mean that's something to work towards, because I had to learn how to accept it, and then focus on moving forward, and just having some strength, you know, and I've been through a lot in my life, so I know that like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger in a lot of ways. I've lost a lot throughout life, but I always knew how to, you know, refocus, rebalance, pivot, sort out things, priorities, all that. And you got to move forward. Otherwise, otherwise you just fall behind, and I don't think I want to, fall behind in life. So that's why I always try to like move forward, especially with having a wife and a daughter. I gotta like keep everything good and balanced for them.
Yeah, you gotta process, but you have family responsibilities.
Hmm.
Um, how soon after your son passed did you have the idea for Langley? And then after that, how soon did you start like working on
Well, that was the funny thing was, um, I think back in like maybe I don't know if it was like 2011, 2012. I thought about making a comic book, and then once I saw like the difficulty of trying to like get that idea off the ground or who to work with, I just forgot about it. I just didn't do it. But then when my son passed in 2022. Um, so I guess towards the close, maybe like almost a year ago. So it was probably like around the summer time. I started thinking about doing a comic book, and then it came together where I said I could, because that was like one of my son's favorite pictures that we took, and it was one of my favorite pictures too. I had it as my profile picture on Facebook for like a long time, and I always thought it was funny because we're taking a selfie, but the goat is like taking a selfie with us. So we liked it. We liked that picture, and it was a great moment. I didn't know that he was going to pass away. The next year, not even a full year. Because I think that was around the time of my birthday. I don't know if it was my birthday or Father's Day weekend, but we went that June 2021. He died in April of 2022, and that's when when last year I thought that's when it came together where I said I could write this book. I actually I didn't know where to start, so I went online looking, like black comic book creators, local Houston comic book creators, something, and then I came across a workshop that was here at Gulf Coast Cosmos, and it was Lane Fobbs was he was teaching the class. At that point, I had the idea for the book. I had the idea for the title. I haven't started writing yet, but I was like, I had an idea for the story and everything, but I was like, who can I get to illustrate it? And then he kind of pointed me in the right direction on how to maybe go and try to find an illustrator.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, the name of the book is called Langley. That's the name of the street that I grew up on. So like a fictional story, everybody got different names and stuff. It's based kind of like on, I think the model of it is based on like maybe me and my family,
Mm-hmm.
And there's a pet goat, even though it was a goat from the safari. And but once I found the illustrator, that was a neat experience. That's what it became a collaboration.
Yeah.
So it took me some months to write the story. I think I started writing it, and then I took a break.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and then the illustrator was like, "Hey, you got the story ready?" And I was like, "All right." And I went back to working on it. So I'm thinking about like maybe like 2-3 months because once I took that break, I got a clearer idea of how to finish the story.
Was it a break like I need to step away from this because I'm looking at it for too long, or was it a break more related to the actual subject matter of your son?
No, it was just a break from. I was just doing other stuff, So because I'm kind of busy, like I go and I perform,
Mm-hmm.
Do a mixture of poetry and comedy and improv, things like that. And I go around town doing shows, and then I do a lot of time. My daughter's very active, so we do a lot of activities together and.
Look at a life break.
Yeah. I was just hanging, living life. But then, one day, once I said, "Man, okay, the illustrator's ready to work and get it done. Let me get the whole script done." And I was actually able to do it from beginning. So my goal was 30 pages. I did beginning to end, wrote everything out. But I had a clearer idea when I took that break on how to do certain things in the story and make it really come together.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it was good I did take that break because once it came together, I was able to make a better story than what I originally intended and make it all come together, make it all make sense. But it doesn't go too far out where people don't understand or get confused. They can follow the story and
That is one thing I noticed while I was reading it is that it is really easy to follow along. Like even the direction choices,
Mm-hmm.
they're still, even though they're not just like always basic panels, they're still easy to follow
Mm-hmm.
when you're looking at stuff from a different view. So that's really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that my intention, I did want to do it black and white. The artist is in Indonesia.
Okay.
So he's overseas Indonesia. So we're on different time zone.
What's the difference? The time difference?
I believe it's 12 hours from here.
Okay.
It's 12 hours. So if it's 12 noon here, it's 12 a.m. over there.
So he's asleep right now.
He could be, yeah. So, it might be early morning there, like 5 o'clock in the morning or something. Yeah, it's probably morning. So, and he's a family man as well. Like I said, I barely talk to him. I just communicate, email, direct messages, stuff like that. And, there's a language barrier. So some things he doesn't understand. I have to be like, hey, fix this word, because there was some punctuation and grammar errors, we had to correct later. Certain things that was different that he don't understand. That explaining him like the leash on the goat. And he says, a leash? I said, a leash, yeah. I had to show a picture of what a leash was. He says, oh, like a rope. I said, yeah, the collar of like a pet dog, like a pet dog, So he figured it out later. Or like it was a panel where he's pressed on the gas pedal, but he had the gas pedal was on the left side, not the right. And he's like, wait, in your country's on the right side? I said, yes. He's like, are you sure? I said, yes. Yes, I'm sure. Yeah.
It's a good thing to verify.
So I mean, once we got past some of those barriers, like I said, it is a collaboration. He did a good job. I mean, I like the fact, and I think I went with him because he knew how to make the black characters look black in black and white. Because I wasn't concerned with color. I wanted to do black and white, and if I do color, I can focus on that like later maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But black and white because it looks almost like a manga. This is like I would call it a Western style manga, where it's like you read it from left to right, not right to left, and it still works. People can understand the story, and my thing is if I'm gonna make more stories, then I'm gonna focus on black characters in Texas, drawn and illustrated in black and white. So that was kind of like my thing that I was trying to focus on. So like they're I identify myself as a storyteller. So my job as a storyteller is just to tell a good cohesive story. Like my job is just to make a good story. But because of my son, he inspired me to create a story. And I don't think I would have made a comic book if he hadn't passed away. I don't think I would have seriously did it. And the feedback I get from it is really good. People actually like it. It's the first time in my life I actually have something I don't have to twist people's arm to like buy it from me. People actually reach out to me and ask me for copies, and
How does that feel?
good and weird. Because like I said, I'm not used to. I grew up reading comic books. I'm into comic books. When I go out and perform and do things, they understand like, me as a storyteller, and they say like me making a comic book, it fits like me, just overall.
Mm-hmm.
And because like before my son passed, during the pandemic, I had just started getting back into reading comic books. Because I grew up reading I grew up reading comic books. When my son died, then I started reading a little more, so I started collecting like more. And it kind of, I think that helps me with dealing with, keep my mind, going, and keep, help me kind of come more at ease with his death by, reading stories and stuff. And now I get to create one. And, I think I'm doing pretty good still. But this story is really cool. So, but, as far as, like now I had an opportunity where I can make more comics now. I make a poetry book. People may not really read it.
Mm-hmm.
They might buy it if they like me, but they're not lining up. They're not, it's like, it's a harder sell, or any book, yeah. With a comic book, and I say, this is why, it's like people, like, they're interested.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow.
It has the interactions between Langley and his dad,
Mm-hmm.
after his father realizes that he can still see him.
Mm-hmm.
Those interactions are very lighthearted.
Mm-hmm.
What made you make those so lighthearted?
Well, I want the tone of a lot of it. Yeah, I do want to make it lighthearted, or you can read it and maybe smile a little bit, Because I mean, some of my interactions with my son can be like a little back and forth, And I used to kind of, troll him a little bit, joke, and get sarcastic with him, Sometimes I get a little sarcastic with me, but we'll just have like our back and forth. And I kind of wanted to do that a little bit with this story, is to kind of show some of that. But I just wanted to make it interesting for someone reading, but to show some personality on both sides too, But but they're still, like I said, they're still trying to figure it out. But but his son comes back as he was when he left, So his personality, all that's still intact. So it's not like, how you think like somebody passed away again, all this knowledge and all, he's still in the same frame of mind as he left.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes back, and they still have that father-son relationship moving forward. It's just not only, but it's only for them. Like nobody else can see him except the goat.
Yeah. Yeah. That looks cute.
Yeah. And I wanted the challenge too was also how to incorporate the goat. Because like if I focus this on the picture, because I thought like man, just making the father son thing. When I got came across the picture, I said, well, how can I use this goat? And I gotta make this look interesting and and that was the challenge. It was like, how can I make the goat fit in the story? And that's why people are really interested with yeah. So that's why people are interested with the goat too. And you read the story, then the goat has more purpose than meets the eye, and it's interesting, But the funny thing is also it's kind of comical in a way. It's like, yeah, they have a pet goat. Yeah, it's like, why do you have a pet goat? Oh, it eats the grass. Okay, cool.
Why not easy colored?
Hmm.
Is there a specific reason why, other than like the manga parallels, is there a specific reason why you wanted it to be in black and white?
Well, just look at it. I mean, like my son was, he was when he read books, he was more excited to get his hands on manga books than the traditional comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go to comic book stores, the black and white books outside of the manga, those are like more like collectibles. The black and white ones because they have like a color and then boom, they have a black and white, and it's weird. It's like black and whites are more like collectible. They stick out here and there, but that's for like you have to have a certain taste to want to get a black and white. But I think what I wanted to do was just focus on the story, and as long as it looks you know um, presentable, where people like they understand what's going on in the story, just looking at it, then the color almost doesn't matter, but you still understand what it is. Like what I enjoyed about it is that you know the artist is able to make the black characters like look black and in black and white, and I thought that was pretty neat.
Was that something that you had trouble finding with other artists?
Well, I wouldn't say trouble, but that's what stuck out to me when I came across some of his work, and then when he showed me pretty much how it would look, I was like, okay. But some artists, yeah, they may not in black and white, they may not be able to do the features as well. Some artists get stuck on drawing things a certain way. Like I'm working with an artist now, and he's so used to doing superheroes. I said, no, this is a regular person. Like, take away the muscles. Why is it's a little girl? Why she got muscles? Take away this is the mother. He's like, well, the mother, she's a single parent and she's strong. I said, she don't need muscles. And so it's like some people you have to, but with this artist, he understood. Now, the only thing about this artist is he thought the story was gonna be like, more, let's say like an alien invasion, invasion of spirits or something, demons, all. He thought it was gonna be like.
Like
I was like, no, this is. I said, no, this is It's a grounded story. But a cat is a grounded story. It's not like all out there. And he's thinking like, yeah, we're gonna do like a portal from, demons can come and the invasion. I say it's not that type of story. That's the story he wants to do. He likes that type of science fiction. All this, he wants to do that type of stuff. I'm like, well, this ain't this type of story. He still agreed to do it, and then once he started sharing it with other people, he said, yo, people actually like the story. He said, oh, they actually like your little comic book. I said, yeah.
Not little.
Yeah. Because it wasn't like,
Why is it yours? Why isn't it our book?
Because I mean, it's I don't know, my idea.
I mean, yes.
It's just he like, all right, this is what you want, okay, But now he gets it a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Once he saw like how people respond to it, and there's a respect that's gained from it. Like people actually respect me more as. It's funny when you have a book. It's like it gets you in more places, and people can sit down and you know, value what I do a little differently, rather than just live performance, this and that. It's just to actually appreciate the book, the story, the style of it, everything.
A lot of the time, I know when I admire artists, regardless of what their medium is, the ones that I really like and try to like model myself after are the ones who do their art for themselves. And I think I know me, knowing that this resonated with you, and it wasn't just like the epic alien story or something that
Yeah.
would be like, oh, okay, people like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that your starting point was something that actually related to you, I think that puts a lot of meaning into it for me, and I'm sure a lot of meaning into it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It makes it more relevant as art, as opposed to just something to buy. It makes it art in the real sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think, just by my intention on the book, when I got serious about it, I said, okay, I understood it's something people could relate to, and they would like to, uh, they have interest in reading it, because I want to make something that people will actually like read. It's not like if I would wrote a novel. Somebody asked me that the other day. They reached out to me from another state, and they wanted me to mail them a copy, so I put it in the mail yesterday. But he asked me, they said, why do a graphic novel instead of like an actual word novel?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I want to make a story people will read and they'll actually finish. Because, you can write a novel, and if they don't click with them or they don't have time, man, they might never finish it. They might read a couple pages. You don't know. You put all this work in this big book, unless it's like taught us some college class or high school, and they have to go and read. People like on their own time. Like I had somebody I came across, and he said he'll read like books, but that's if he's like on a train, on getting on a plane. This is like a quicker read. Like you can sit in one setting and finish it, or in two settings and finish it, but it's not going to take you.
I finished it in one setting.
Yeah. You might read the whole story in like 15, 20 minutes and be like, wow, okay. But you got a complete story, And my thing too is like I can end it like this, or I can keep it going, So it's like the ending is open ended, but it's like it can keep going, or I can just stop there, Just if it worked, or not, I don't have to I don't have to keep the story going unless I just really want to. But I also have to come back to okay, people be interested in whatever story I'm trying to tell. But I try to have like a purpose and something to gain from like the story. I don't want to just be telling a story just to tell a story. The way I ended this story, it can open it up to somewhat of a bigger story, and the purpose would expand outside of just what they want to do. So I think there are some things to learn if I can pull that all together. So I'm in the beginning phases of I have an illustrator. It was the same illustrator. He's done a couple pages now, and it does pick up where this book leaves off. But tying it all together. I mean, it's. I think the way I would do it is gonna be pretty neat, and it's gonna be pretty good things to explore. But I think that's gonna be more along the lines of, they have to learn how to help and benefit other people outside of their own self-interest. Whereas this book is just mainly about them two figuring out and having their relationship with each other. When my son died, I mean, he died April 22nd, 2022. 3 days after he died, my car note was due. And then it's like, I took a break from work. I took like 3 weeks off from work, and then I had to just pick up the pieces and keep, at the plan his funeral with his mother. His mother's my ex-wife, so I had to plan a funeral with my family and her family and my wife's family and some of her husband's family. And that is, man, and yeah, like I said, so a lot of things happen, and then you come across a lot of people that show their sympathy, and you know, it's a lot to just. I mean, the reality is, it is a lot to do. When you lose that type of loss, but it's an unnatural loss.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not
like
the cycle of how life is supposed to go. When it does go like what happened with my son, that's unfortunate. That is a tragedy. But I had to keep moving forward in life. But the reality is that next month, at the month after he died, it was like a lot I dealt with. Did Yeah, it was, yeah. But in the story, in a way, the story does kind of capture some of that, where it's like it really moves and a lot of things do happen.
Mhm.
He goes through a lot of different emotions. He gets to mourn, but he falls apart because the subliminal thing is he didn't get to mourn naturally. His son's still there. He can still see his son, so he can't mourn naturally. And everybody else feels mourns for him and family mourn, but they don't see, even when his wife tries to comfort him, he has a breakdown. He's like, this ain't, what is this life? Like, this ain't right, you know? Now he goes and he has dangerous behavior. But when things happen to people, they do become self destructive. They can be. They can be harmful to somebody else, they can be harmful to themselves. That's why I say with my attitude is like, I gotta be positive. I can't be self destructive. I gotta take care of myself. I gotta do, because you can do anything. And that's the problem. You can do anything, and it's not always the right thing.
Mhm.
You have your choice. I kind of want to have some representation of that.
Having a self-destructive, speaking from the past like stuff.
Hmm.
When you're in that self-destructive mode, you might as well have a little devil on your shoulder, because you, like you said, you can do.
Hmm. You're thinking of leaning that way, and you might do it. Do something crazy. Do something wild. Do something, and just be mad and caught in the moment, not knowing. Yeah, you can end up in jail, in hospital. You can end up dead. You end up hurting somebody. Like, hey, So.
You mentioned your ex-wife.
Hmm.
You told me before that she's read the comic.
She got a copy from it. Yeah.
Did that help her with like?
She was happy to see it. I think she's happy to see me try to honor, my son, because I was always like a real good father. I was always like active with my boy. Everybody saw that. So she see me still doing something, and I think that makes her feel good. And she tries to do some things, for him still, and we just keep his memory going. But I still share pictures of old memories of me and him on Facebook.
Mhm.
So yeah. People are very dismissive of comic books, so it was taking a chance making this because people are very dismissive. And it's not simple to just put up a print, put out online. It's not simple. It's like it's way easier to do just a novel book, whatever, than getting the pictures and yeah.
Would you say though that it's like worth it though?
Well, yeah, I like like a lot of things when I create, and I like the challenge of telling different stories and things like that. And I like the challenge of putting it all together.
This is something that your son would have read.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it would have been interesting for him to read something like this. Yeah, he would have. Or in fact, if I had a comic book and made it, he would have read it. Yeah, you know. Now, now if I was trying to make a rap album, I don't think he would listen to it. He wouldn't.
The people close to you, they know your limitations.
No, yeah, but shoot, I wasn't like, stuff he was listening to was like cool. So I was like, I was at a point where I wasn't, he didn't think I could relate to like the stuff he was listening to, but I could, but it was like, he didn't look at me like that, you know. But I used to like make rap songs and stuff like that, but it was just for me. I was never serious as a rap artist because I had to, you got to really push that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I did go through the challenges of making songs. And, I like to write and create stories, so I tried different mediums. But this is gonna probably be something I could stick with.
I'm glad I got to read this. Is there so you are a live storyteller as well?
I went out to Galveston and people kind of lined up and got some books from me after the show. It wasn't even like my show. I was just one of the open mic performers, and there's just people like, yeah, I want to get a copy. And the featured artist that was there, he's like, man, people lined up for your book. I've never seen that. So it was like funny. But I mean, and when I do like my actual show, it does kind of coincide with the book because a part of the show that I'm doing, um, it talks about the ups and downs of life. It talks about me and my personal strategy moving forward, but I do talk about, my son, honoring my son. I do say some things about my son, and it touches a lot of people. And then they get the book, and it's like even makes it a more something they take with them. So not only do they, if they come to see the show, it's very impressionable on them on what they'll see, and they'll like it. But then, a month later, they might not think about it as much. But when they take on the book, they might think about the book more. Completed.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that when you're doing a project like this, the real accomplishment is getting it completed.
Mm.
That's the accomplishment. You don't know what it's going to do when you're done with it, but the real accomplishment is getting it completed.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of people that you probably know that started books, started this, started that, and they just never finished. Or they finished, never put it out, never okay, I'm in the process of putting this out more, but it's done. Even if I don't create another comic book, another anything, I got this, it's done. So I think that's the good thing.
That's a good perspective too, because sometimes when people create, no matter how impactful what they create is, they just get stuck on the number one, and they feel like it's not enough just because it's one. But it would be a shame if it's good that you don't feel that way, because it would be a shame if you didn't realize and appreciate how much you are making people happy and making people be able to relate to something.
Yeah. So when I hear about people reading it to other people and stuff like that, and having discussions about it, I think that's a really good thing. I didn't expect that much out of it. I didn't think it would just really touch people, but it has. So I got some really good feedback from it. So people would like to share and read more. And then if I do a follow-up story, I got to make it just as good as the story, make it mean something. So I'm working on that.
It's well within your power to do.
Yeah, it's within reach. So I'll be, I have a website, www.theincrediblecowblue.com. But if you want to reach me directly on social media, just type the Kyle Blue, and then you'll be able to find me on a lot of different platforms like Instagram, Facebook.
Mm-hmm.